incredible resourcefulness of nature brings animals into existence, which sometimes it's hard to believe today. We with you let's observe the unusual again. Creatures traveled around the world. Volcanic island of Mila with vital important resting place for migratory birds. Snakes migrating to Africa are very got comfortable taking advantage of this fact. There are few streams here, and the birds need water from them, and snakes need birds, and they know where wait for them. The most offensive thing is that many it's impossible to even see snakes while there are shadows move. They are so good disguise. But even more offensive, which is good noticeable, red snakes do not stay here either with nothing. Young birds simply haven't saw them, so they are being careless, which costs them in life. There is one more similar small island, China Shadow means Snake Island, and snakes here there are actually 20,000 individuals, and they survive. They are all here too, only at the expense migratory birds that visit the island twice a year for rest. The rest of the snakes here are inactive and not starving and sleeping, but now that the island overrun by birds, they have limited time to eat enough for 6 months forward. At dawn snakes look for the best perch will suit even the humble one twig. 20,000 traps awaits songbirds, and snakes are waiting to gather in front part of the body in the accordion preparing to throw moment, and the victim is caught in one. The bird, the snake, will not stop it. Continues keep hunting until he catches another 2 to 3. 2 snake weeks continue daily go hunting Snake Island. This is the last place on the planet for birds worth the flight, but fortunately for the snakes, they don't understand it. Spectacled bears, who love maximum comfort and convenience. They are the only species of bear in South America. In Vanda 8 months, maybe there will be no rain. This is the only spring many kilometers green oasis bear can rest, and after rest you need more, and have a good sleep, and sleep. These bears they also prefer with maximum comfort, and for this, they do what no other bears do. They climb a tree and break a lot branches, and use them to make a real bed on a tree. Is a little cooler than on earth. Bear likes it finally possible. It's almost like sleeping with air conditioning is nice and convenient. This mineral spring is deep in the forest. Solaz Islands is a place that attracts many creatures each barbarous a day. Family leaves the forest, groups of 10 animals. So many animals are coming to watering soon. A crowd gathers. It's very annoying. Local macaques look even weirder. Male, you probably think he has it. The horns are so strange, but no. These are fangs. Male fangs grow through the upper heaven. These animals are descendants ancient pigs that came here from Asia after the island separated from the mainland in isolation. They have changed a lot. Males use their unusual fangs to hang from branches. While sleeping, it was hard to come up with another explanation, since they don't use fangs for fight. Instead, when males Dobrushans fight, they just box standing on 2 legs. It looks no less weirder than their fangs' ability to stand on 2 legs. They usually use to get to the leaves in the forest. Trees are like deer. Their names are women. Rus comes from the words pig and deer. And how do male deer compete with each other? Tusks are also used as horns. Japanese ants are very boring excited because of annoying flies. Humpback whales flying around are some of the most smallest in the world, but they are all the time are killed by ants. Finally one of them succeeds sit on one of the ants, and then she flies away. But guess what? That this ant crawls into an anthill, and soon things begin to happen to him. Extremely strange things. In 5 days, he can see that there is clearly something wrong with him. The other ant is definitely not on his own help, but it's useless. But after 7 hours after the onset of the first symptoms, the ant's head just falls off. Well, then the ant walks for another 12 hours without heads, and lives in such a zombie state that all this means that fly that landed on it 5 days earlier decided his fate, since the fly had time lay an egg in its tail, and then the parasite has already begun to eat the insides. Ant alive, turning the owner into a zombie. Well, the ant's head comes off for so that the form Gorbaka could leave the ant's body, because the species of humpbacks is also called flies thugs. And if you think that after the head is torn off, the fly is located here in this ant's body, then know she is precisely in the fallen off head, where from time and another colony does not emerge lucky. Even more, here dozens fallen off heads of ants from which made them world celebrities climb. They go to the rocks not only in search of food and security, but also sometimes in search of various minerals. For example, if remember the famous video on the internet where goats climb the dam for salt which flowed down it, that's just it, that's the case. These lands are very small salts because goats do such a trick for the sake of its prey. However, what kind of cubs, who don't know how to do it professionally, climbing such steep slopes? For example, this one goes up the dam for the first time. He has no choice but to follow. Mother's fall is certain death. The higher cub rises up vertical. The wall is all hope for him. Superpower soft elastic saws grips. Even the smallest protrusions capture them between hard parts. Hooves. He is balancing on the edge of life-death, and it's quite tedious work for such a kid. He is fast, runs out of steam, but he can't stand anymore. So what? He comes to his aid. Mother escape and recuperate. The kid falls asleep right on a vertical wall. Incredible. After a short nap, they continue on their way until finally find themselves at an altitude of 50 meters. The coveted salt that concrete contains, and which he brings out of its seeping water. This salt is very important for healthy growth of the kid. However, there are predators who take advantage. Mountain goats love to climb high altitudes, or golden eagles. They are very grateful to the goats for climbing high because it makes it incredibly easier for them work. Golden eagle attacks a baby goat, grabs him, and then drags the unfortunate man straight to the abyss and just lets it go. Free fall is done for this purpose, so that the victim does not resist and dies immediately upon falling. Golden eagles grow. Children are always hungry because parents don't. Before rest, they have to do it all again and throw the kids into the abyss again. Sometimes Berkut has to really sweat to bring them. Resisting one kid go to the cliff is very risky, so if Berkut hurts, otherwise there will be no food in these lands. And another kid again on White Island in New Zealand. At noon it gets very hot, and gannets literally die from this heat. Often breathing doesn't help, but with it moisture is lost, which leads to fatal dehydration. Although around cool sea, but not fully formed, the chicks can't reach him. However, adults came up with a brilliant idea. Life hack: how to cool your children. Diving for cool. What one seaweed, they bring them to their children and press them against the overheating chicks, and it's a real lifesaver. There's no better way to think of it. We are transported to Australia. Here they are digging in the ground. Bee burrows are not only one of the most big bees, but also the most inadequate of. There are not many flowers in these lands, so bee colonies are small and scattered. Bees dig holes for their offspring. Community lives in harmony. Difficult. Imagine what is happening, and it massacres now reign in the colony. Peace, because there are only females here. The killers are males, and they are all dead, killed each other. This story has begun. Go back before the females appear. Male Dawson bees. Females only are selected to the surface, one after another, digging his way out of the hole in which they have grown. Their smell inflames the males. They are huge and made for battle, and each wants to take the best place to mate with a female. The female has just grown up, and those who are thirsty are already getting into the thick of things. Males attack her in a huge heap, literally tearing the female apart. The unfortunate man had his head torn off while he was walking. Males fight for other females, mercilessly kill each other, and by the time the last female crawls out of the hole, males are already dead. This is royal. The battle led to the fact that only the most strong males were able to fertilize the largest number of females before, like a finger of death, brave 2 months later. And in this world, the females grow up the next generation, languishing in holes, which will soon begin in exactly the same way. Carnage. Since we're talking about Australian animals, then you can't ignore the main beast of this country. Kangaroos live in their pouches. Kids who don't know troubles, but always it was interesting to know how much the bag reliable can a baby fall out of it. For example, if the mother runs away from predator A, they have to run around in these parts, for kangaroos are hunted by their worst enemies, dingoes. A man took them to this continent for 3,500 years ago, and since then, they started exterminating kangaroos. Now, with this, marsupials always have to be on guard. Seeing a threat, children immediately hide in dingo is chasing a kangaroo in his bag. Looking for the slowest one, Mom, with a heavy, the hunters are lagging behind the herd with a load in the bag approaching her. She dials maximum possible speed, at which is only possible with such a load, and this swing is starting to push out. He tries to take the cubs out of the bag. Hold on as best you can, but the shaking is too much strong, and he falls out suddenly, figuring out that the kangaroo pouch is not ideal. Dingoes immediately attack a reliable home on the unfortunate desert bias desert in the world. It's noon and therefore it's hot as hell, and there are different animals here. Escape from this heat by diving into the sand, but the Sciatura spider came up with a different way. He can withstand more than shelter from the heat, higher temperatures than other spiders, up to 50 degrees, but it will be even hotter because the spider must quickly weave a blanket from sand to hide from the heat. Then he settles down under his blanket and waits. One ant was unlucky to step on his blanket, and that means he's doomed. Vibrations flow through the silk thread straight to the spider to go. Outside it's too hot because the spider just pulls the victim straight into his lair, sleep under the blanket forever. But I've already told you about this spider but now it became about him. We know more because this crab spider deserves attention, uses his disguise to catch and eat insects that flowers are flying in. So now it has become bees are known to visit flowers with this spider 3 times more often than without it. How this is possible? If you look at flowers under ultraviolet light, you can see what is on the petals have dark areas marking bee landing lines. Guides the plant wants to be their nectar guaranteed pollinated, but spider learned to use these signals. Watching her with a special, the camera can see that it is reflecting ultraviolet light. She becomes more and more noticeable sitting on a flower. That is bright radiance acts as a super signal against which the bee cannot resist, and the spider takes full advantage of this. The Arctic Ocean is located on the very top of the northern hemisphere. In winter, ice covers an area of almost 11 million square kilometers, but off the coast Arctic Russia's small corner of water does not freeze or form ice. 30 squirrels located here interfere with trapped by these 4-meter northern. The whales were trapped because must float to the surface every 15 minute surfaces. All the fish have already run out here, and squids anymore. They have nothing to eat. Whatever could be caught and eaten near this they ate. The air oasis, and now they are terribly hungry. Well, they can't swim, otherwise death. This time it was winter, colder than before, and the belugas don't know what should they do. There will be a chance of salvation only with a change of season. We wish them good luck. American Sonoran Desert is not the best simple place to live. The whole area completely covered with cacti, but there are animals that came up with how use this fact to your advantage. The fact is that there are a lot of predators here, and they are well armed with claws or poison. It's very difficult to survive here, but you still need and raise offspring, and therefore thorns cacti can serve as good weapons. Female desert hamster collecting a pile dry cactus balls in one place turns out to be truly unapproachable. The fortresses like that securely fortified burrows reproduce. Hamsters make life very difficult for predators because he's hiding in this thorny castle. Not only the hamster, but also other small ones, animals in the area, when they try to escape from the chase, among other things. Hamster also eats these cacti because it food and protection at the same time. Mekong River in Southeast Asia very poor in oxygen, but there is one type who very cleverly adapted to this problem. Siamese betta fish male breathes by swallowing air from the surface, and during reproduction they use this, creating a fruit from bubbles. It works day after day. The female waits nearby, rises to inspect the fruit. This since she seems to be happy with their bodies entwined in embraces, and this encourages female, while the eggs drop, fertilizes them. Then both carefully collect one after another into the nest. Their stagnation in front of you is the most amazing animal. Pond snail. It slides on the film water from the inside due to its surface tension is something fantastic. I have already told you once showed a bug who walks similarly on a film of water upside down, and this is how it turns out. Some snails are also on similar ones are capable. This colony of Lasius ants, they live in rotten wood and kill everything gets in their way. But this larva barn moth exception, she is in a sink that she made for herself, and now the larva can live peacefully among ants, without fear that they will devour it from this shelter. There is a hole on the right and on the left, depending on the situation. She can choose from which hole look out, and move in that direction. She advances with her strength. The jaws of these ants are strong acid. They attack anyone crosses their property. Not a single scratch. The larva is quite smart. Even surrounded by ants, she retains calm and runs away. When it comes the right moment of nimbleness is not for her either. Occupy. As soon as the ant approaches, she immediately dives into the shell of herself without knowing it. Parasitizes on anthills, receiving protection from them, and feeding it waste left by ants serves as sometimes she gets something more valuable. She drags the prey under the sink and eats calmly. There are incredible things on our planet, bodies of water, where there are so many bioluminescent tiny organisms that make water glow from any touch, from any one vibrations, whether a wave or a passing one boat. And even if you walk along the beach near these bodies of water, it will also be glow in response to your steps in the waters filled with bioluminescent life. Even the crab's breath is illuminated, ability to glow as a weapon. These sharp codes are quite worthy for this fish, as it seems to her. The fish is swallowing sharp code and immediately spits it out. Prey is too much for her. Astrocodes fill in your body. Unstable cocktail of substances during a predator attack. Substances mix, which leads to bioluminescent flash brighter than a flashlight. Astrocodes store enough substance to produce 10 such flashes, and taste so unpleasant that the fish immediately spits out prey. And this one has an escape plan. Crustacean, even more brilliant flash, so bright that it not only blinds fish, but also gives it to the unfortunate fish on time. Loses the ability to see anything, but you can see her perfectly. It's like rule is unhealthy in the ocean. There is always a bigger fish. An interesting picture is observed in the thicket. Someone successfully bent a reed, mini bit reed leaves, forming a pocket by the architect of these unusual houses. Amazing design solution. Leaves are carefully selected like a spider used a tape measure. The female covered her eggs with a web and entangling them along and across thousands of times. Thanks to diligence, mother's eggs can grow in safety. Mother stands guard all day, refusing in your food in case of attack by predators. Thanks to mother's love and care, eggs begin to hatch inside the web. The baby spiders are already scurrying around with all their might. Bagworms break out of a web bag thanks to the care of his mother. A lot number of birds hatch safely from the moment of birth. According to accounting, you need to get your own food to survive in a cruel world. They first must eat but hunt. The spiderlings still can't figure out how they will survive. Everything is just a mother offering to the hungry. She won't let the cubs eat themselves alive. Moves until her offspring are sucked her dry. Female spider brings herself into sacrifice, providing the offspring with the best start in life. After being a spider, eat the mother. They get out of their homes and run away. The British outback were born with Theodotes. Here about 200 brothers and sisters, and believe their relatives. You would these little ones didn't want to be anymore. They look at each other, cannibals, and immediately begin to attack to your relatives after birth. Brothers leaving their brothers at such a family dinner. Not everyone wants to participate. Spider tries to run away as far as possible. Rather, there's just one small. The other spiders have exactly the same problem, same plan as hers. And the spiders, the road ends. It would seem her dead end. Hungry brothers are approaching, but this little girl has incredible skills helping her complete the great escape. It releases negatively charged silk threads into a positively charged atmosphere. Of opposites attract and pull her up. The spider uses the laws of physics. She flies high and then picks her up wind, and now she can overcome thousands of kilometers. With such flights they colonized every corner of the land of Vo. Power of the wind, she can't choose where land, and therefore accidentally lands on water. But a spider weighs less than a grain of sand, and it doesn't even go below the surface. Releases his magic silk again, and water skiing safety, until finally he finds out why this will be her new home. It resembles a savanna pangolin armadillo, but they are not related. Fully armored mammal. Almost a third of the mass of this female is armor. The animal eats up to 200,000 not ants a day. For this beast there are threats in principle. Besides, he has one more level of armor protection. Even if large cats they try to attack him, He emits fluid from the anal glands, disgusting smell, repellent enemies although from him, and so constantly there is a foul smell. And now you will understand why did the animal find fresh excrement. And zebras, perhaps this is done for this purpose, to kill parasites, and maybe this personal no perfume. The animal goes to bed. Frozen forest of Canada. Winter lasts here half a year. Underground, the most northern land turtles. Painted turtle, they are in their own special space, hatched last year in the fall. But since then none of the individuals almost didn't move them right away. The evil winter froze, and now they are dead. But for some animals death is temporary phenomenon. Painted turtles are underground, waiting for the most important, the moment spring arrives in April. The warmth from the sun triggers incredible changes. Body temperature of the skull rises higher. Zero. Their hearts start beating again slowly. They come back to life thanks to the superpowers of their body. These turtles underground and into the hollow. This squirrel works tirelessly. Time is running out. But all this did not go unnoticed by him. Secretly watching is the one who is also looking food for the cunning thief. Kadraka too. You need to stock up for the winter, but look for it yourself. Nuts are lazy. It's much easier to steal them. Just watch the squirrels. In fact, she does. But neither does the squirrel, the stupidest one, and makes fake hiding places. The bird comes, and there is nothing there but Kadraka, stubborn bird. Next cache, she finds the squirrels quickly and drags them away. A few nuts in a couple of seconds. Squirrel fails to drive away the thief in time. In the jungles of northern Papua New Guinea, Australia is home to quite a lot of birdlife artists. This is a male paradise gazelle who dedicated his whole life the art of seduction, and now he using his wings to perform his extravagant dance. However, there is one small problem: different colored young males pretend more experienced. Just that's the point. To learn such a complex dance it takes about 5 years. If young males won't study at the moment when the dancing male, there is a colony of ants that lives in fallen acorns. In every acorn there are hundreds of them. They are very small, and this allows them to live in such tiny at first glance. Acorns' houses are safe home. However, to settle inside someone's food isn't the smartest idea. Giants and wild turkeys roam the forest. Ants should grab and hold tighter larvae because it can shake a lot. Houses with acorn have a solid construction. The whole life of these ants can roll depends entirely on this. The oak weevil beetle will not be there. There won't be any oak ants either. Weevils climb acorns even before they mature, but these beetles do not feed on them. These acorns are needed for the weevil can drill into the offspring only unripe acorns. After it makes a whole beetle lays exactly 1 egg and then goes to others. Acorns do the same. When the acorns ripen, they begin to fall, and all kinds of squirrels are immediately accepted. Collect them, but there are a lot of empty acorns here. Their squirrels are not. They carry away. I'm interested in empty acorns. Steal, because of the oak weevil, which has already laid its larval eggs in them, have become quite large in size, and now it's time to get out. After they crawl away empty acorns, like you know, they still find use. If weevils did not make holes in acorns, then these ants would not be able to. They are not able to live on their own. Make a hole like this. If you remember, in one of the old videos, I told you about Christmas Island in Indian Ocean, where they live hordes of forest crabs, tens of millions. These crabs are the main tourist attraction of the island. They come here, but unfortunately these creatures have been dying out here en masse in recent years. Millions of red crabs don't make it to sea. The fact is that the island was occupied by invader yellow crazy ants, they are called, and this is the name of these ants. Completely deserved. They were accidentally introduced here on ships visiting the island, and due to the lack of predators, they created huge super colonies in the forest. When migrating red crabs march, ants attack through their territory, inject formic acid into the eyes and mouths of crabs. Caviar, you are absolutely in front of this. Defenseless, blinded, bewildered, they are doomed. It is isolated. The crab community lived quietly millions of years on this island, but now, due to the oversight of the people who delivered, there were ants. In a short time 30 million crabs have been exterminated, and now on the island, instead of 80 million of them, there are 50 million in total. 80% of animals extinct due to humans. Were island animals forever hungry ants disassemble the crabs into pieces, and take their anthills. Network of roads crossing the island is also not conducive to prosperity. Crabs don't mind these animals. Refresh yourself even with your crushed ones. Comrades, people try to help the crabs overcome traffic roads. Some of them are stopped for a while. Migration also locals, even special bridges were built to allow crab will cross the busiest roads at their own pace were also created. Underground passages all this way crabs do to get to the water and lay eggs, and they are so afraid of water how the waves picked up by them can easily tear the crab into small pieces. This is actually what happens to many people here. Fast water tears the unfortunate people apart. This is only a joy for the fish. Well, the hard part starts when you leave the game. Billions of small crustaceans hatch, who rush back into the forest repeating the winding path of their parents. Here are the yellow crazy ants. They come off full of small crabs destroyed on an industrial scale, filling their pantries to capacity. Fortunately, there are so many crabs that its huge number of them manage to cross, and land carpet of crabs covers everything in its path. They literally everywhere. The world is very dangerous if you're very small. Many don't get there to their parents' house, but also to those who getting there is also not much to envy. Life with parents is not sweet. Do you see what the matter is with the shadows against have a snack? Grandpa, so there are crabs in the forest. I have to hide from him for 5 years. Adults feed and grow after why they will return to the sea again and dump it. Already has its caviar transported to the Amazon jungle. Spider monkey is at great risk descending to the ground as it can eat jaguar, but she really wants to take a piece of land. But suddenly, because there's a noise coming from the foliage and the monkeys are fast climb back into the trees. However, false alarm, it's just a pack of wild ones. Boars. But the monkey managed to snatch it for himself, a piece of land. Why does she need it but to eat, of course? What else can you do? Do with the earth. The bravery of these monkeys rewarded, and they can have plenty. Gorge yourself on earth. But an elephant in the wild places in Thailand don't have to take risks. No one will risk them for the sake of mining their land. Disturb the elephants loose in the ground, and they put big pieces in your mouth. If remember, I once talked about a similar passion for eating earth. Different species of birds, all these animals, they eat it for the minerals that found in large quantities in clay and is found in very small quantities in plants, because plants alone are not get all the necessary elements. This is what many animals have to eat. Land on the west coast of North America. On the stones, you can see quite strange animals or acorn shells at low tide. Each of them is locked